Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending the business meeting of the City Council of the City of Binghamton, Wednesday, 15th of March, 2023. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, and justice for all. Clerk will take the roll. Mr. Clerk.
Councilwoman Resnetti. Councilwoman Riley is absent. Councilwoman Friedman,
Present.
Councilman Burns,
Present.
Councilman Strawn,
Present.
Councilman Scanlon is also absent. President Scaringi.
Present.
That's 5 here, 2 absent, Riley and Scanlon.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. This time I will move toward Councilwoman Resnetti for the purposes of a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the March 1st, 2023 business meeting.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Resnetti, seconded by Councilwoman Friedman. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The approval passes. At this time, there are no public hearings to set or to hold. We will move toward public comment. Residents wishing to speak during public comment may do so electronically by emailing their comments prior to 1 p.m. on the day of the meeting to clerk@cityofbinghamton.gov or in person during this meeting and at this time. Clerk will provide a 1-minute warning and communicate when your speaking time has expired. Seeing no one coming forward, in the eyes of the chair, we'll move toward the preferred agenda. Colleagues, at this time, are there any requests for legislation to be pulled at your request? Seeing none, we will move forward. Mr. Clerk.
Okay, the first item on tonight's preferred agenda is introductory ordinance 23-48 considered in finance. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2022 general fund and golf fund budget for various items.
Discussion. Seeing none, Mr. Clerk.
Next is introductory ordinance 23-50 considered in finance. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2022 Binghamton Johnson City Joint Sewage Treatment Facility budget for CPI increase.
Discussion. Seeing none, Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have introductory ordinance 23-51 considered in finance, and this is an ordinance to amend the 2023 Binghamton Johnson City Joint Sewage Treatment Facilities budget for a CPI increase.
Discussion. Seeing none, Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have introductory ordinance 23-52 considered in finance, and this is an ordinance to amend the 2023 general fund budget for salary adjustments.
Discussion. Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have introductory ordinance 23-53 considered in the Employees Committee, and this is an ordinance to amend the 2023 Parks budget to defund 9 laborer positions and fund 9 park technician positions with no change in salary.
Discussion. Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have introductory ordinance 23-54 considered in finance, and this is an ordinance to amend the 2023 Parks budget to defund an MEO position and fund a tree trimmer position.
Discussion. Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have introductory ordinance 23-55 considered in finance, and this is an ordinance to amend the 2023 Parks budget to defund 2 laborer positions and fund an urban forester position with a crew leader position.
Discussion. Mr. Clerk.
And the last item on tonight's preferred agenda is introductory resolution 23-15 considered in the Finance Committee. And this is a resolution authorizing the mayor to accept a state and municipalities grant for turnout gear.
Discussion. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to accept the preferred agenda submitted.
Motion to accept the agenda is submitted.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Resnetti, seconded by Councilwoman Freeman. Clerk will call the roll. Mr. Clerk.
Okay, Councilwoman Resnetti.
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley is absent. Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Strawn. Aye. Councilman Scanlon is also absent. President Scaringi.
Aye.
That's 5 ayes, 2 absent, Riley and Scanlon.
At this time, recognize Councilman Strawn for the purposes of a motion with respect to introductory ordinance 23-47.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask council for unanimous consideration of introductory ordinance 23-47. This is an ordinance to amend the 2022 general fund budget for salt and sand.
Do I hear a second? Motion by Councilman Strawn, seconded by Councilwoman Resonetti. Colleagues, discussion. Seeing none, is the question called?
Call a question.
Question's been called. Clerk will call the roll. Mr. Clerk.
Councilwoman Resenetti,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley is absent. Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Strawn.
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon is also absent. President Scaringi.
Aye.
That's 5 ayes, 2 absent, Riley and Scanlon.
With respect to introductory ordinance 23-49, Chair recognizes Councilwoman Resonetti for the purposes of a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consideration for introductory ordinance 23-49. An ordinance to amend the City of Binghamton Historic Guidelines, Chapter 7, Commercial Buildings and Storefronts, Signage, to amend language.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Resonetti, seconded by Councilman Strawn. Discussion. Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you, President Scaringi. I was considering this piece of legislation, and I think there are some pros and cons to it. I, of course, want to make it easier for people to open businesses and create signs to entice people to come into those businesses. And at the same time, I think it's really important that we consider the historic nature of some buildings, and sometimes I think it's a slippery slope where if we make certain exceptions, I think sometimes it can snowball where the historic nature is lost. One thing that does make me feel more confident that this won't happen is that the new type of signs in the language, it says that they will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis. And I do trust the determination of the various, the zoning board and the zoning board of appeals, and, all of the people through whom this decision might have to go. It's also a little troubling is a strong word, but maybe of consideration that this RL comes before us because of a retrospective ask where a sign was placed and then afterwards we're being asked to change the language to match that sign to make it allowable, and nothing against that business owner, I don't mean to target them at all, but I think also that gives me pause that we're changing guidelines for historic buildings as a result of one person opening a business in a historic building and putting up a sign, and then, now we're changing. So I just sometimes when I'm conflicted about legislation, I just feel the need to put my feelings on the record to note so that people know that this decision is not made lightly. I'm hoping that if this passes, it will indeed be, these signs will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis and generally considered inappropriate for historic buildings. I'm hoping that this will make it easier and more inviting for people to open businesses or, revitalize historic buildings. But just with caution. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any further discussion? Seeing none, is the question called? Questions have been called. The clerk will call the roll. Mr. Clerk.
Before we do that, we'll let the record reflect that Councilwoman Riley is in attendance.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Okay. Roll call. Councilwoman Resnetti,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Strawn,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon is absent, and President Scaringi.
Aye.
That's 6 ayes, 1 absent, Scanlon.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. This time we'll move forward with communications from council members. We begin with Councilman Strawn.
Oh, all right. Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have much tonight. I know the storm wasn't quite what they thought, but I think the crew still did a good job. It's kind of a windy, kind of just a messy situation. So at least from what I saw, it looks like they did a pretty good job with everything. I know there's still some garbage out on the south side. So if anybody's listening, they can pick it up, they will, but most likely it'll be on the normal rotation next Tuesday. So just keep that in mind. There were several big accidents on the south side that I noticed just before I came over here. So I'm sure nobody's listening in real time to pay attention to that, but just pass along well wishes. Hopefully nobody was injured, and I know crews are on the scene already, so we appreciate that. That's all I have. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilman Strawn. At this time, Councilwoman Resnetti.
Thank you very much. Not a whole lot as well here to say tonight. Of course, big thank you to DPW. They were out there trying to nip it. Didn't really get to the point where we expected it regarding the snow this past week. Thank you, you guys. They were all, out there doing their thing, salting. I could hear them going up and down Leroy Street, and then some. So there's that. Additionally, I wanted to say that March, I didn't mention this last time, is a month where we recognize social workers and the profession of social work. And I just wanted to, if not any other time, for folks to, do whatever they can, maybe to learn more about the profession. I certainly, being in the profession, I'm so grateful to be engaged in the work that I am. And actually, the theme this year is breaking barriers, and that is what social workers do in different capacities in different ways. We're all doing what we can to wearing different hats under that profession to support those who are oppressed, discriminated, or are facing life challenges. So shout out to all the social workers who are out there doing good work. And one last thing, for next Friday, the 24th, at 11 o'clock, we'll be raising the Greek American flag here at City Hall. That is in support of the Greek American community and all that they've done here in our area. It's to celebrate Greek Independence Day. So just throwing that out there. If anybody would like to join us, we'd love to. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Move on to Councilwoman Riley.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, everyone. I am thankful for the work of DPW, ensuring that we could move safely about our great city. And those of us that were returning to the city were able to arrive safely in our houses. I want to, as per usual, highlight some of the holidays that will come before we're coming back. Of course, it is Ramadan, so we want to join our brothers and sisters that will be celebrating on the 22nd and throughout in support of their holiday. Also, today, March 15th, is International Day Against Police Brutality, which is important because it is a celebration, a global observation every year on March 15th as a day of solidarity for all to join in and stand against police brutality. It was first observed in 1997. And again, when we talk about police brutality, what does that mean? That means the wanton use of excessive force by a police officer. It's one of the most prevalent forms of police misconduct and violence. So again, you will always hear from us. We stand against such acts, particularly as it relates in a higher rate and frequency in communities that look like me. And so I stand with my brothers and sisters in celebration of today, International Day Against Police Brutality. So there are several other events going on in the city. I do want to also highlight there is a community survey for our seniors, one of the first launched by Governor Hochul, but also being supported by the Office of Aging. This survey should be completed by all of our residents, our constituents that are 65 and older, thinking what they believe should be prioritized from a state level that will then be funneled to a county level and then back to us around this table at the city level. We want to make sure that our seniors who have lived here for several years are able to continue living here and aging well in the property and the cities that they love. So that concludes my message. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you, President Scringy. I want to echo the sentiments of my fellow colleagues about thanking DPW in their preparedness for the blizzard, quote unquote. I know that they were ready to go, even though their services were not required at the extent to which they were prepared to provide those. And I don't think that I have anything to report from the 4th district. Stay warm and safe, everyone. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Burns.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to thank the weatherman for being wrong the other day. That was nice. Wasn't as bad as it was supposed to be. And DPW, of course. On the south side, at next week's South Side Neighborhood Assembly meeting, Mayor Cram is going to be there. He's going to speak to us and take questions. And so that'll be good. That's at MacArthur School Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. 83 Rush Avenue, which had a fire a couple months ago, that's going to be demolished this Thursday and Friday. I want to thank Megan in the mayor's office for keeping me abreast of that. Other than that, I have today is my grandson Santino. I know that he is watching, and he is 5 years old today. So with the magic of YouTube, he's watching. He's 5 years old today. Happy birthday, Santino.
Happy birthday, Santino.
And my granddaughter Ruby, next week on the 24th, she's going to be turning 8 years old, and she's watching from Virginia. So happy birthday, beautiful Ruby. Thank you all very much.
Thank you all very much. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, everyone in attendance. Thank you, Mr. Clerk, for setting up the meeting. Thank you, Corp Counsel. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Motioned by Councilwoman Riley, seconded by Councilwoman Rezanetti. We are adjourned. Nice.